It starts right now. A Renewed Mind, hosted by Dr. H. Dante Duckett, pastor of New Kingdom Faith Christian Church. Position yourself right now to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, here's our host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett.
Hello and welcome to another podcast of A Renewed Mind. This is your host, Dr. H. Dante Duckett, and I'm so excited to be with you one more time. Listen, we have been doing some tremendous work these last few months, and I'm telling you, we have seen so much growth in so many of our listeners, and I'm so excited that you have taken the time out again to sit back and listen to another podcast of A Renewed Mind. Listen, we know that it's time for us to be transformed by the renewing of our minds in this season. We've come through a whole lot in a whole year. We know we can see that the pandemic, that we're finally coming out of what we can consider probably one of the most unbelievable, unplannable seasons we have ever been in, and now we're coming out on the other side of it. And we need to find out how do we manage our life on the other side of this pandemic. If any of you have been doing the work that I've been sharing with you and I've been requesting you to do, you just had to start doing some work on yourself. There's some things that needed to happen within you that I believe the pandemic has allowed you to start working on. Persons wanted to avoid many of them, but now we understand that we cannot avoid certain areas in our life, specifically how we think. And I believe how we think is really what has been controlling our entire life. I'm telling you, you are living in your harvest of your previous thoughts. Let me repeat that. You are currently living in the harvest of your previous thoughts because your previous thoughts have been controlling your actions. If you feel that you're living in lack, that is because of the previous thoughts you've allowed to dominate your life. It's your thought life that has you living the way you're living. It's no one else's fault if you think you're living below your potential. There's no one else's fault that you believe that you're working in a job that you know that doesn't care anything about you. There's no one else's fault that you are allowing yourself to be subjected to harassment or betrayal. There's no one is doing that to you. You allowed yourself to do that because in your thinking, you believe that's all you're worth. You might not say that, you may not say that verbally, you may not say that to anyone else, but by you allowing yourself to be in a situation that you know that is not where you belong or what you should be doing, literally that's your own fault. That is a product of your thinking. You either feel that you can't grow anymore, or you feel like you're stuck, or you feel like you're hindered, or you're held captive, whatever term, whatever verb, whatever term you want to use. Please understand that no one else is to blame. No one else can take credit for that. In fact, you can't give anyone else credit for, although we try to continually to give others credit for or give a place to blame on someone else because of the situation that we find ourselves in. But tonight we need to discuss how do I get unstuck? How do I get myself out of this situation? How do I get myself out of a situation that I'm in that I know God has not called me to be in right now? And I'm telling you right now, the only way you will truly get unstuck from anything that you're dealing with is that you have to change your thinking of who you are. Not anyone else, not what people think of you, not what you think people should think of you, but how you feel about yourself. Because coming through this pandemic should have showed you, should have demonstrated to you alone that you're stronger than you think you are. I don't know who I'm talking to tonight, but you have to understand that there are many people who have not survived what has been designed to kill all of us. All of us this virus was designed to kill everyone that it came in contact with. But for whatever reason, you did not die. Why did you not die? That question can only be answered by you. I'm still here for what? What reason am I still here for? Have you really discovered your purpose? And I believe the moment you discover your purpose, listen to me here, the moment you discover your purpose is the moment, listen to me, you will begin to start living. I'm here to tell you that what has gotten us to where we are, and I believe for many of us, not every one of us, that has gotten us to where we are, not only is it the product of our thinking, it's because we've been operating on our own plan. We have been literally working off of our plan and not his purpose. I need you to get that. We have been living off of our plans versus his purpose. You have a purpose, but you've been living off of your plan. And what your plan has done, listen to me, your plan has literally has you in a place in which you are stuck and unable to move in any direction. You're in a job that you know you don't belong in, but because you have to pay bills, but because you have responsibilities, you know it is very difficult for you to make a transition out of a job that you. How is it that we're giving a person, an organization, the prime years? Listen to me carefully. We're giving them the prime years of our life, the prime hours of our day, the prime minutes of our hours, but we don't want to be there. Why? Why are we doing that? It's because, listen, we're operating from our plans and not his purpose. That's critical for you today. You have to understand that it's been your plans that have gotten you to where you are. And your plans are the result of your thinking. Your plans are the result of your thinking. Proverbs, y'all, Proverbs 19 beginning, and it's only one verse, Proverbs 19 and 21. Many are the plans from a man's heart, but the Lord's purpose prevails. Many are the plans from a man's heart, but the Lord's purpose prevails. Listen to me. If you are frustrated right now, it's not the devil nor any one person. The frustration, listen to me, you are feeling right now is because you refuse to deny yourself. You are so addicted to getting your way that you will never be able to comprehend that this world will always present you with something that will get on your nerves to frustrate you and to infiltrate your space with bad energy. So until you deny yourself from wanting life to go your way according to your plans, you will remain frustrated. Listen to me. You will remain frustrated. There's always going to be someone or some situation that creates, I'm putting in quotes, bad energy around you. But when you deny yourself daily, it will never matter who or what comes against you. It will never take you to that place that will lead you to have extended periods of frustration. Listen, being frustrated is inevitable. But staying frustrated, get this, is a choice. I need you to say it to yourself. Being frustrated is a choice. Disciples intentionally decide to deny themselves. They make the choice. Your life right now is a reflection of your own personal choices that you made on your own. For example, let me go back. Every disciple in this season, I don't care who you are, must master hearing from God through the Holy Spirit. You who are in this or listening to this podcast, you must choose to hear from God exclusively, because when this happens, the benefits that accompany this include placing you on the fast track to you living and no longer existing. Come on, I need you to get this. When your life is dominated by your plans, existing through life is your only option. Why? Because you've made the choice to hear only from you and not from God. There's no one currently keeping you from your breakthrough. There's no one holding you back. Your lack of resources, come on, has not kept you bound. Your lack of education is not it. And any other excuse you can come up with is not it. It was and is your intentional decision to choose your own plan over his purpose for your life. The Bible declares this, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and to give you a hope and a future. Listen to this. Christ had to leave the earth in order for the Holy Spirit to come. The Holy Spirit came that we may have reestablished Holy Spirit came that we may be able to communicate with God through Him being in us. But we've neglected to cultivate a relationship with the Holy Spirit. And because of that, we continue to make decisions based on how we feel, which will always place us on the path of our plans and away from His purpose. The word says, many are the plans in a man's heart. Your plans originate from your heart. This is why the psalmist declares, create in me a clean heart and renew in me a right spirit, because he knows how manipulative our hearts can be. Therefore, since your plans come from your heart, the question that needs to be answered on this podcast tonight is, what is feeding your heart? Come on. What is feeding your heart? Can I tell you the first thing? What you see is feeding your heart. What you currently see right now is feeding your heart. What you allow your eyes to see doesn't just stop in your eyes. It gets into your body and finds resonance in your heart. What you hear gets into your heart. How you feel feeds your heart. Temptations feed your heart. All of these are examples are received from external surroundings, even how you feel, because typically how you feel is based on what you are experiencing. But when you study the word, you have the power to defeat everything that is feeding your heart. The Bible declares that Jesus was tempted at all points of life. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. But he defeated them all because his purpose remained his priority. Listen to me. You will continue to live a defeated life when your plans become your priority. But this teaching today on this podcast is to elevate you to start living a life of consistent victories. If anyone has ever heard my podcast, you know that the word consistent is my favorite word. I believe that the word consistent is the weapon that the enemy has no power of defeating. Consistent. A life that displays continuous victories is not something that is lived by accident. It is an intentional choice. You have to make an intentional choice to live a life of consistent victories. To live your life based on your purpose and not your plans. Let me describe your plans. Many of us, let me show you what your plans typically look like. I hope you're listening, and I really hope you're writing down. And let me set up go to this commercial break real quick. Let me thank everyone for tuning into this podcast, A Renewed Mind. You can find me on Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. Look up my name, Dante, Dr. Dante Duckett, Duante, Duckett, Duckett. Or you can go on pray.com. Download, search my name, download all of my podcasts. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast platforms I'm on. Look up A Renewed Mind, hosted by Dr. Dante Duckett. Listen, back to a point. Listen, this is what your plans look like. This is what your plans look like. Your plans only benefit you. Despite how you may present it. You're going to present it to someone where it sounds like it's going to benefit someone else, but really all the person that's benefiting is you. I'm here to tell you. It's only your motives are wrapped up in how you're going to succeed. Your plans typically originate from other people. They're not from God. They're from other people suggesting that you do this. That's where your plans originate. You watched it somewhere. You saw someone else do it. They originated. That's not your plan. That was a plan that's been originated from someone else. Your plans can be accomplished by you alone. That's your plan. It can't be his purpose, because when it's his purpose, you can't do it by yourself. You can't even do it with someone else. You're going to need him to help you accomplish it. Your plans shift depending on the success of it. Oh, listen. The moment something does not succeed the way you planned it, you quit. Do you know what I've seen in this pandemic, especially with people on social media? They go from one thing to the other because they're trying to figure out what they're trying to do. They're trying to figure out what their purpose is. No, listen, you can't figure out your purpose. Can somebody help me? You must discover your purpose. You discover your purpose. And another thing, let me tell you something else that describes your plan. Number 5, your plans require buy-in from other people and confirmations. That's your plans. That's what your plans look like. What most of us miss in this text, when I talked about many of the plans of a man's heart, but the Lord's purpose prevail, is the tension between the word plans and the Lord's purpose, meaning one. You have, listen to me, one purpose. He has assigned one purpose to you. This is why the Bible declares, broad is the road that leads to destruction, but narrow is the gate that leads to life, and few find it. This narrow gate that leads to life will also assist you in finding your purpose. Paul had a plan to kill and apprehend all of the followers of Christ. Jonah's plan to escape his killing. Jonah had a plan to escape his calling. Joseph's brothers had a plan to kill him, and Peter had a plan to keep Christ from fulfilling his purpose. The role of a plan is to ensure, listen to me very carefully, the role of your plan is ultimately to ensure you never operate in your purpose. That's why you get plans all the time. It's to ensure you never operate in your purpose. Your job has trapped you and kept you away from your purpose, ensuring you never fulfill your purpose. Your job has made you believe that you need their money to survive. And Pharaoh has been pimping you to do his work because he refuses to pay you your worth. His plan is to ensure he accomplishes his purpose while sacrificing yours at the same time. Ignorance has benefited folk in your life against you for a long time. But now that you know that it's the Lord's, listen to me, that it's the Lord's purpose that prevails, you need to tell yourself you still have time. You still got time. Everyone else wants to make you believe you don't have the time. But I'm here to tell you, you still have time. You still have the time to do the work that God called you to do in this season. Your purpose is not influenced by your age, nor is it influenced by external factors that typically believe they are in control. You are operating, fulfilling your purpose is your own decision to get direction from God. It is your decision to get the direction from Him. You cannot have a casual relationship with God and expect to operate in your purpose. He wants you whole. He wants you physically and emotionally healed. He wants you prosperous. But you must make the intentional decision to go after your purpose. But it's the Lord's purpose that prevails His purpose. Well, listen, that He prevails in His purpose, and His purpose will not fight you to make it a priority. If you continue to choose your plan over His purpose, then He will remain in its place until you finally make the decision. In just about every case, listen y'all, in just about every case, you have to make the decision while in the midst of a crisis. You will have to make the decision that you're going to follow the Lord's purpose, and it typically comes in the midst of a crisis. That's what I'm here to tell you. It comes in the midst of a crisis. That's critical. That's huge right now. This is why God allows crisis. I believe this is why there are probably countless persons that have found their purpose in this pandemic. Listen to me. There are persons right now that I know have found their purpose in this pandemic. I'm one of them. Not only did God call me to pastor this great ministry, but I know He's called me to expand ministry from the four walls of the church. I've seen it. And it's happening because of what He called every one of us to do, to expand. You find your purpose in the midst of, that's why you let the crisis do its job. This is why God allows the crisis in your life. He is praying. I'm saying this. God is praying while you're in the crisis that you will turn to him and discover your purpose. Whatever you're dealing with, no matter what your storm you're trying to navigate through, it has been allowed to push you to your purpose. It has been allowed to push you to your purpose because guess what? It will help you discover that your purpose is not person-centered. Your purpose is not person-centered. It's not based on a person. Let me tell you the story. Jesus told Peter, when Peter told Christ that we ain't going to let you die, Jesus turned right around to him and said, we rebuke you, Satan. All you do is have the concerns of men, the worries about things of men and not the things which concerns God. Man is focused on the person. God is focused on the purpose. Thank you, Co-Pastor Lisa Neal. Man is always focused on people. God is focused on your purpose. People ain't got nothing to do with your purpose. People can use to help fulfill your purpose, but they have nothing to do with your purpose. We allow people to deter us from our purpose or distract us from our purpose. The only qualifications man needs in this season, the only qualification he has for a person to be used to help do his will is that they are yielded vessels for his purpose. Your achievements don't qualify you. Who you are connected to do not qualify you. The only question during the interview is, are you yielded? Are you a yielded vessel for his purpose? If your ego needs to be stroked all the time, you're not operating in his purpose. If you need consistent confirmations from people telling you doing a great job, you're not operating in his purpose. If you can't handle when folk don't show up, because that would mean you would have to do what you think you are above, you're not operating in his purpose. Listen, I'm the pastor of the church, and I still sweep the front of the building. I still clean the bathrooms. I still vacuum every now and then. If people don't show up, it has to get done because it's my purpose, not theirs. Now, you get people to buy into your purpose, to buy into your vision, to help you expand it. But if they don't show up, it's not for you to be upset about it. It's for you to start operating in it. Number 2, first thing is your purpose is not person-centered. Number 2, your purpose is to solve a problem. Woo. Pastor, you're teaching in here. We have never been taught this. I was taught this a long time ago. It's an old teaching. You have been personally called to solve a problem. Everyone who is operating in their purpose is solving a problem. A dentist solves teeth problems. A teacher solves an ignorance problem. A police officer solves a crime problem. Jesus solved God's problem. Paul solved God's problem. Pastors are consistently solving God's problem. And what is that problem? God needs his people to get as close to him as possible because of the error that Adam made in the garden. He made the error. He cut the people off from God. So that's a problem for God because we're his greatest creation. And he wants us to be as close to him as possible. So the only way we could be in right standing with him, he had to send Jesus to die. And now he needed Paul to expand it through his earthly ministry, through his missions. And now he's using us to do the same. He had a problem. He got people out here that don't believe that he's real. He got people out here there are people out here that still doubt him. So he needs yielded vessels to help solve his problem. Yes, God has a problem. And it's disobedient people. It's people that doubt him, that don't believe. So he uses The fivefold ministry, people like you, myself, who may not have a title, because you don't need a title to help solve God's problem. He had a problem. And you have been endowed with a skill set that is uniquely yours to fix his problem. What problem are you called to fix? Because your employer is using you to solve their problem. They may be paying you for it, but believe me, they're making a lot more than you are for you solving their problem. Your purpose, listen, will take you through hell. That's number 3. This is where we begin to lose a lot of people. Because when they say yes to their purpose, they begin to encounter struggles they haven't been prepared to handle. And the enemy will tell them that they made the wrong decision. It wasn't a wrong decision. It's just part of the process to you operating in your purpose. We live in a fallen world. Therefore, you will experience things just because. But what you can't do is take it personal. Because when you take it personal, then you will get emotional. Going through hell will help you to acquire emotional intelligence. Your purpose will never respond to your emotions. Number 4, your purpose will kill you. Your purpose will kill you. Get this. Paul makes this most important statement, I believe, in the biblical text. I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but it's the Christ that lives in. Your purpose will kill you in order for you to operate in your purpose. Goodness gracious. Why? Because it has to kill that flesh that keeps you from your purpose. Your flesh has been designed to keep you from your purpose. But in order to do that, it has to die. Your plans are originated from your flesh. But your purpose is originated from God, which will kill the flesh in you, will kill the you that's been keeping you from your purpose. It's your plans versus his purpose. But you got to understand, in order for you to prevail, in order for the Lord's purpose to prevail in your life, you have to switch from operating or conducting yourself or allowing yourself to operate in your plans versus his purpose. It's time for you to discover your purpose. It's time for you to discover what you call to do in this. And this pandemic afforded you the perfect opportunity to discover your purpose. So what are you going to do? Are you going to consistently operate in your plans, or are you going to discover your purpose? Listen, you've been listening to another podcast of A Renewed Mind. I am your host, the one and only Dr. H. Dante Duckett, here every Monday night at 8 p.m. on this podcast platform, wherever you're listening. Listen, make sure you invite a friend to next Monday. We got a great segment in store for you again on next Monday. But you need to sit down and ponder. Am I operating in my plan, or is it his purpose? God bless you. Have a great night.
You have just been blessed by the transformational teaching of Dr. H. Dante Duckett. Tune in next time to another segment of A Renewed Mind.